Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, volunteering, community service, and spreading positivity. We're all about the positivity here on the show. And with me today, I've got a very special guest. He is a five-time WCW World Tag Team Champion, and he's got an amazing story that we're going to talk about right here on the podcast. The one, the only, Buff Bagwell is with us here. Buff, welcome to Wrestling with Heart.
Thanks for having me, man. Very excited about it. I love positivity, and that's where everything starts from. I mean, my whole day starts with an act of positive. And if you do that, I have found that your day follows with positivity. So I'm all about, my kind of the leader of my support team, Diamond Dallas Page he is positively unstoppable.
Oh, yeah.
So
he's the king of it. I mean, king of positivity right there.
He's the man. And he's great about that. And he always has been. I mean, 36-year-old trying out for WCW, again, it's an act. It's something he did that was a mountain in front of him that only he could have probably done. I mean, everybody said he was crazy and all that. So, positively thinking and him being positively unstoppable is what his motive is, because that's what he does, and that's what got him there.
Yes, and the fact that he's been able to help so many people, including you. I mean, I was watching this documentary that he talked about helping you and your former partner, Scotty Riggs. I mean, unbelievable. It's just fascinating to see the work that he does to really turn people's lives around. It's just incredible.
That video is powerful, man. I think, when you are the star of the video, so to speak, when you're the main attraction of the video, you don't really know their video in it and what they're going to pull up to tie the whole story together. But their Yoda of their Dallas's Yoda is a guy named Steve Yu. He is brilliant. He's a great guy, great human, and but he is the Yoda of DDPY. And he's like, the day that initial phone call you see that I made with Scotty Riggs,
Mm-hmm.
Dark Side of the Ring had called me and told me they were going to reach out to me. And then I hadn't talked to Scotty Riggs in a few years, so I was going to reach out to him and check on him, let him know that Dark Side may be calling him. And I was just going to dial his number up, of course. And Steve Yu, of course, goes, "Wait a minute." I go, "What?" He goes, "Just wait a second." Comes back in, he mics me, and then records the very first phone call. And it takes that kind of dedication to put the dedication in these type of videos to get the magic turnout from the end. Now, how many hundreds of things had to happen for that video to be magic? But you got to at least play the part, and Steve Yu plays the parts, and man, what a great video it was.
It really was tremendous. Now, you were born in Marietta, Georgia. Tell me about your upbringing and childhood.
My childhood was a little different than most. I think everybody starts their childhood kind of negatively. Mine was incredible. My parents were millionaires. My father was a self-made millionaire at 37 years old from lumber business. There wasn't any Home Depots or Lowe's in the 70s and 80s. There were lumber yards. Well, my parents had the biggest one in Marietta, Georgia. It was called Southeastern Building Supply. And so for 17 years, from the age of 5 to 18, but for 17 years, my parents owned Southeastern Building Supply, and it was, $2 million a month profit lumber business. So I grew up with, motorcycles and go-karts at a young age to Corvettes and Jeeps in older ages. It was just a crazy, wonderful, special life. We were spoiled rotten, but we were not spoiled brats. We had parents, and we were well-mannered children, and we were yes sir, no ma'am, and we knew right from wrong, or we got things taken away from us. So they two very good parents again, that all the love in the world. And um, my whole upbringing was extremely different, and it was extremely special, by two parents again that had money. So money, no matter what people want to say about money, money is a wonderful thing. I think people can make it bad sometimes, but there's nothing wrong with money, and it does make life much easier. And I saw that at a very young age, and then had just a little dip, and about a little dip in life. And then, man, I was at WCW making six figures at 21 years old. So, I from the age of 1 to 31 years old, I was rich. And that was special. Now at 32, it hit hard, but not really, because I was still making money. I just wasn't doing what I wanted to do, which was be a television star anymore. The WWF thing, it went sideways. But man, how do you complain about having 31 years of a life that people don't get 1 week of? So very fortunate, very grateful, very thankful for everything that I had, and a very special upbringing.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody can say they can be a professional wrestler and want to be a professional wrestler. I mean, was wrestling something that you wanted to do at a young age? Was that something you grew up watching as a young kid, or did you kind of fall into it?
I kind of fell into it. I was the youngest of three boys, so we watched wrestling. I mean, we watched, and we knew who the main guys were. I mean, I remember in the house it was Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair, and then later on it was Lex Luger and the Road Warriors, and so we knew all the names. And my brothers, I think, were bigger fans than I was. But I do remember them like dressing up at Halloween every once in a while. I do remember one of my brothers dressed up like Dusty one year, and so it was a love in the family. But nobody thought of doing that. Nobody. We were going to be professional athletes, and let me take that back. We were all great athletes, but we were going to work for Southeastern Building Supply. Period. So we played the sports, and my brother John, I think, could have did a double A, triple A type of baseball. I couldn't have. My brother Steve had a full ride at East Tennessee State on a football scholarship. He went for 1 week and came home. So, I do believe my two older brothers could have done something sports wise, but I had a real bad injury my junior year, and it made me a step slow with football. And then baseball was great, but I definitely wasn't like a great like a professional baseball player. So all of our stories was going to end very happily at Southeastern Building Supply.
Now, when you're an athlete, I mean, it takes discipline. You have to have the passion for it, the drive. I know Missy Hyatt kind of helped you get your start in the business. Tell me about the transition from, the basketball, the amateur boxing to the world of professional wrestling. Cause I mean, it takes a lot of work to really become one of the top stars.
Like no other, man. It was different. I was Marcus Bagwell, a Gold Glove state champion. I was a superstar athlete as a kid, football and baseball. I was going to be something. There's no doubt. And so when I tipped to get into pro wrestling, my parents had a party for me going to wrestling school, and I remember coming home from that party and saying, "I'm not going back." And they're like, "What do you mean?" I go, "This is the hardest thing I've ever done." I said, so it was I thought it would be a plus, but I think it was a minus that I knew Missy at first, because I could see the WCW schedule. I could see what they were doing. And here I go do this class to be a pro wrestler. And I'm looking at how many times they do this a week. and you times it by a month and you times it by a year and you go, that's not possible. So I came home. When I left the first training session, I wasn't going back. And I'm not sure why I did. I think just because I was broke. I mean, I was working as a massage therapist. I graduated the Atlanta School of Massage, and I was going to try to be a sports trainer or a sports medicine doctor or some kind of trainer. And the first step of that, when you got a 1.8 grade point average, was massage therapy. And so I did that and graduated number one in my class. And it was a great thing. But about the time Missy found me or met me, I found out that women were not going to be massaged by me. They were very insecure, very nervous to be on the sheet. You're not naked, but you got to get in between the sheets and everything. But extremely insecure, I was noticing, and I was working real hard to fix that, and I wasn't fixing it. I was doing things like at this one parlor, like beauty salon, I would massage the women's shoulders while getting their nails done, and just to kind of let them know that I was a good guy and everything was okay. And I fixed it at that salon, but I didn't fix it at the other places I go into. So it was going to be a huge uphill battle for me. And I remember being at the pool that day. I was depressed, laying at the pool, and trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. And then Missy Hyatt hit me up with that night. She hit me up with, "Won't you be a pro wrestler?" And I was like, "They don't make no money." And she was like, "Our lowest paid guy makes $100,000 a year." And I said, "Tell me more." So I started practicing and got in it. But yeah, it was very tough, man. The toughest thing I've ever done. Pro wrestling, I'm not saying this because I'm in it. Pro wrestling takes so many different things to be great at it. I've seen professional athletes that could not run the ropes. And I've seen guys like Ric Flair that couldn't throw a football or a baseball be the best pro wrestlers ever. It just takes different things. And how I describe it is when you can get all of those different things and put them all together, you've got The Rock. The Rock to me is number one because he's got the body, he's got the look, he's got the talk, he's got the ability. He had it all. And it's very hard to have it all in this industry. He was, Lex Luger was as well, but The Rock is really was a total package of this business, and even Lex would say that because he was phenomenal. He is the most electrifying wrestler ever, and it speaks for itself. But you look at Rock being the best, and then you try to get as close as you can to him. But it is the toughest thing I've ever done in my life, and it's very hard to get good at.
Yeah, I mean, it takes that will to be able to be one of the best, and you have to work at it constantly. And for you,
Yes.
I mean, you were in a tag team with Scotty Riggs, the American Males. What was it like working together? And did you prefer being in a tag team, or did you just want to break off eventually and go singles?
How the tag team stuff came up is at a very young age, and nobody came to me with this, but at a young age, I saw this world champion, world tag team champion line that was real short. And I saw this world single title line and it was real long. And I thought, man, the payoff is the exact same thing. You are the world champion. But so I enjoy tag team wrestling. Tag team should be the best match on your card because you got 5 different brains that all you got to pull together, and sometimes 7 when there's managers. So 7 different brains that you all put together to pull into this match and to try to get the best match out of it. And if you do it properly, it should be your most exciting, best match on the card. And I felt like in mine, it was the best match on the card because we would turn it out. And I became a very good tag team wrestler on knowing when to do certain things, and just by the Steiners teaching me and the Road Warriors and listening and your Lugers and Stings, I did become a really good one quick, with tag teams. So I love the tag team division. And again, I saw a way to be somebody quicker than waiting in that big, long, Ric Flair world champion line. And so that's what I shot for. So with, um, um, the world tag team thing, you're talking about a 5-time world tag team champion with 4 different partners. It's never been done. So that's impressive. At least, let me say that again. To my knowledge, it's never been done. Nobody's ever showed it to anybody else, but that speaks for itself, man. That's an example that I'm a great wrestler because I was able to adapt to 4 different humans, 4 totally different humans, to become a 5-time world tag team champion. I did it twice with Stars and Stripes.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were over with the crowd, over with the fans. They still talk about the memories that you both made to this day. Um, when you broke off and became singles, I mean, you joined the NWO and then you ventured off into Buff Bagwell, Buff Daddy. Who have been some of your favorite opponents to work with over the years?
Believe it or not, my last match, unfortunately, ever was going to be with Booker T. But man, me and Booker had some of the best matches ever. Going back, we wrestled him so many times, but from the very first time me and Booker wrestled till the very last time we wrestled, we had great chemistry. You look for chemistry when you do this, and some guys you just don't have it. Some guys you just don't click with. But me and Booker just really, we clicked, and we had great matches, and we wrestled so many times against each other because I was against him with Stars and Stripes. I was against him with American Males. I was against him with Too Cold Scorpio. All my championships ran through the Harlem Heat, or tried to, and some of them were victories over them. So it was really, he was one of the best. And then for me, Tex Slazenger and Shanghai Pierce were also a real good tag team that we wrestled and had incredible chemistry with. And that was a great tag team they had. But everybody I wrestled, I just remember being a lot of fun. Paul Roma, Paul Orndorff, I mean, Flair, Luger, Sting, some of these matches, man, it was just incredible. So I was lucky enough to be around a bunch of great wrestlers, and it turned out a bunch of great matches.
Yeah, I mean, you were in WCW for a decade, 10 years, like one of the originals of that
Yes.
promotion. I mean, when WCW closed, that had to have been devastating because so many people were flabbergasted, like what's going to happen next?
Yeah, it was rough, man. It was I was one of the, and I'm sure there's more, but it seems like there was just a handful of guys that did 10 years. I know there was me and Sting and Dallas, Bischoff. I'm not sure who else, but there's a handful of dudes that did that whole 10-year run without going back and forth. And I was one of that small package of those guys. And, but it was devastating, man. I mean, we had something very special that that people really can't wrap their head around. I mean, I remember being outside center stage where we did TV tapings. And I remember in my wrestling gear on the street with a guy named Chip Burnham. And he was head of our ticket sales. And we would sit outside and give away tickets so we could tape our matches with fans in the building. We gave away tickets. We had to pay models $75 per model. So we had people that had teeth going in and out of commercial break. These are stories that nobody knows, but I was there. I saw it. So to see WCW go from center stage that we had to beg 500 people to get in for free to being Buff Bagwell in the NWO selling out the Georgia Dome is pretty good ride. Pretty good ride. And it makes you happy that you were there. And to lose that, it was really, to me, it was devastating. It was devastating enough that I went on a 20-year, what I called depression, and that that leash of my drug addiction, that leash was off, and I went from teetering on being a drug addict, alcoholic, just to wide open, mad about it, depressed about it, lost my WCW, woe is me, and off to the races to be an addict.
Was there a moment where you just were like, "What am I doing? How can I get out of this?"
Well, the moment of me getting into it was very clear. I was having to move out of the house that WCW built, the house that I built from WCW, the house that God allowed me to have the money for from WCW to build. It was everything to me, and I'm at the next door neighbors watching my house get moved out of, and it was a devastating blow that I'm still not over. I'm still not over it. But at the time, it just sent me straight into again to an addiction that was already right there, waiting on me. And now I got no reasons. I got nobody to answer to. It just cut me loose into the next 20 years, and it gave me a reason. Drug addicts find reasons to make it okay. I broke my neck, and now I've been fired, and and this is okay because I can do this because of that. And we try to make it right and make it okay. But that was definitely the time of when I was really like, catapulted into addiction. And then from there, I had several attempts to get sober. I say several, like four times I tried to get sober, but only once when I had all of the pieces. I'd finally been diagnosed with sleep apnea, which I backtracked and to 12 years old. But at 12 years old, which would have been 1982, there wasn't a word called sleep apnea. There wasn't a word with a CPAP machine. It wasn't a word. So I had something, even if we would have known about it, it wasn't even a word yet. So when I got diagnosed with that, I backtracked it and I blamed it on, not, I didn't blame it on, it caused the start of my addiction, because I was tired all the time, and I didn't feel good. And so at a young age, I learned to fix it. And I would fix it with drugs. My dad is who started it. He gave me some cocaine to put in my wrist wrap for football games before the game started. And after pregame, I'd come back for pregame. My head would be down as the coaches were putting cleats on me. And then I'm the starting quarterback of the team, and they put my cleats on. I'd be like tired, and well, they'd go out to pregame, and I'd do the coke, and I was ready to go for the game. So I learned a horrible thing young, and that was I learned to fix my feeling. So from that point on, I was skinny. I fixed it with steroids. I was wide awake. I fixed it by going to bed with a pill. I fixed it with everything I did. I fixed, and to me it made sense, but it created a horrible addiction. And then with all the pieces, the CPAP, being shocked back to rhythm from having atrial fibrillation. I took my CPAP to only one rehab, and it didn't work. I wasn't ready yet, I guess. But the second rehab I went to with my CPAP machine, I got sober, which was in 2021. No, excuse me, 2022, at Black Bear. So 2022 was only my second rehab that I went to with my mask and all the stuff that really I knew to get sober.
Yeah, and DDP, along with your partner. I mean, he helped you get to where you are now, and it's unbelievable to see the transformation. Uh, you're now healthy. You look happy,
Yes.
and you're doing well, which is wonderful to see. And you've done a lot of charity work too. Can you tell me about any partnerships that you've worked with over the years that you've done as far as charity work is concerned?
I never got approached by anybody really to do any special, like to one company. But I do know, every time I had a chance to do anything, anytime I was ever asked or offered something to do, I did. Like this one example I've got was a guy named Joey Robinson. How I know that guy's name, I've got no idea. And I'm not sure I'm exactly right, but I can tell you within a few letters I'm right. But Joey Robinson was his name. I'd been on the road for like a couple of weeks, and WCW. I take it back. It wasn't WCW. It was a friend of somebody, a friend of a friend, wanted me to go visit a boy at Shepherd Spine Center. And this is before I broke my neck, also. So this is taboo to me. And I remember walking down the hall to go see him and complaining about how far of a walk it was. And I was like, oh my God, what are you doing? I'm in a spine center walking, and I'm complaining on how far of a walk it is, But I said, oh God, I immediately said a prayer to God, and I apologize. Well, I walk in this room, me and my wife do. I walk in this room, and this boy is in the wheelchair with his arms like this, and he's on the breathing thing. So he's at like level, it's like C1, like Christopher Reeves was. And it was from a trampoline accident. I took it upon myself. Again, this wasn't WCW. This was a friend of a friend, a huge wrestling fan. I get him front stage at the Nitro in Atlanta. I stay in touch with him. I get him pictures and all kind of good stuff. And we remained friends for a couple of months, it seemed. And then he ended up passing away from bed sores. His parents just were not very wealthy, and it became a kind of a bad situation. But that's one story out of 50 I've got like that, that were just special to me. But there was never a main company or one place I stayed with. I was just for anybody that was around me. I was about being positive and trying to share positivity if I had a chance to do so.
Yeah, you seem very passionate about helping others, especially with your story. Paying it forward, that's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
Well, Buff, this has been wonderful getting the chance to speak with you. It means a lot to me and my listeners. I want to say thank you so much. Where can people find more about you if they want to get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely, man. The one thing I do believe in is and a lot of stars don't. They think it's a bad thing to be reachable, but I don't. I'm very accessible. I'm very reachable. The best way to get in touch with me would be to go to Marcus Buff Bagwell at gmail.com. Marcus Buff Bagwell at Gmail. That's my email address. And then marcusbuffbagwell.com will take you to all my platforms of social media and all that. And then, you can get in touch with me anyway that way. And just try to follow me and stay in touch with me.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Buff, and you're more than welcome to come back.
Hey, anytime, brother.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.